Hola, bonjour, ni hao, sat sri akal, salam, namaste. Welcome to my channel. I'm Divya from the Storytellers Pune, and here is your story.
The armchair is nice. Some people like to sit or stretch out on the couch. Whatever you are comfortable with.
Well, lying down makes me nervous, I think. The chair? It's good of you to see me on such short notice.
I don't see people. I help them see themselves.
I feel quite strange coming here like this. I'm not sick, I'm not.
Nobody said you were. Sometimes we all need someone to talk to sort out things in our heads. It doesn't mean that we are sick. It often means, though, that we are unhappy with some aspect of our lives.
Well, I guess that's right. It's not as if I shouldn't be happy. I have the whole happy ever after package after all. Wonderful husband, wonderful baby girl, servants, fine clothes. I don't know why I shouldn't be happy.
And yet you are not happy.
Right, I'm not. There's tension between me and my husband.
Tell me about that.
The first year was wonderful. All honeymoons and roses and parties. All my problems were over. Then father died, which hit me pretty damn bad, and of course we moved back here to take over things. It was expected, It was interesting at first, but there were all my stepmother's old friends, and of course all those childhood memories. My husband became more and more involved in the administration, and we were apart longer. But I was pregnant by then, and nesting, picking out the baby's clothes and remodeling the nursery and interviewing nannies. For a while after she was born, my husband and I spent more time together. But then he was back to work and I was taking care of her, supervising the servants. It was when she turned 1 that I started getting these fits of depression. I'd goad my husband and we'd get into these awful shouting fights that would end up in passionate reconciliation. The sex was wonderful, but then I'd get depressed again, crying suddenly in the middle of the day, usually when I watched my daughter play.
What did you feel? Grief? Anger?
Sad, I guess. Though sometimes it was anger as well. I lose my temper. I have to leave my daughter to the nanny because there are times I don't trust myself with her. When she's being bad.
Being bad?
Crying all the time, pulling things off the table, throwing things.
How old is your daughter?
2. And I know that's normal behavior for a 2-year-old. My temper is probably not normal.
Why do you think that is?
Can't you tell me? This is what you do, isn't it?
Yes and no. I know a great many things and I suspect others. But for me to tell you what I know or suspect is not going to do any good unless you are ready to see it for yourself. I know this seems roundabout, but what we are doing is exploring things in a way that lets you discover what causes you to feel and behave the way you do. So if I reflect things back at you or ask questions, it is to steer you to where you can find insight.
Okay.
So why do you think your temper isn't normal?
Well, I react way out of proportion. Something that I know is a trivial annoyance still causes me to fly into rage. The servants have stopped talking to me about anything bad. If there's a problem, they go to my husband. I guess that's as it should be. After all, he's the reasonable one. Sometimes I feel if I let myself get really angry, I'll destroy things.
It sounds like you've been holding back anger for a very long time.
Yes, I guess that's right. I remember thinking I'd explode long before I ran away from home.
Let's talk about that.
About what?
Well, why don't we start with how you met your husband? That was after you ran away.
Oh, everybody knows about that.
I want your viewpoint.
Well, alright. He saved my life. I was choking on some fruit. I was pretty far gone. I'd even passed out, suffocating, and the next thing I know, this guy is giving me CPR to get me going again. We weren't anywhere near a hospital, and those bozos I was working for at that time were useless for something like this.
Bozos? What bozos?
I was doing housework for these miners. After I ran away from home, they took me in and I was grateful. But I've never met such slobs. Took me a month to clean their house the first time. All I was getting out of it was the room and boarding and the odd pinch on the fanny. They were a randy bunch. But I used a rolling pin on one of them and they left me alone after that. You know all this.
Your viewpoint, remember? And how long did you stay with the bozos?
Well, I was 16 when I ran away. A year and a half. We still talk. They come by for Christmas dinner and they always bring my daughter something nice. But they are still slobs. Embarrassing.
Do they embarrass you in front of your husband?
Oh, no. He likes them.
Okay. Why did you run away from home?
Oh, come on. You talk to my stepmother all the time. You know how crazy she was.
My relationship with your stepmother was not a two-way thing. I know details, but it is your perspective that we need here.
I don't see why she has anything to do with my problems with my husband.
Don't you?
No.
You're angry right now. Why?
I'm not angry. Well, maybe I am. I've got every right to be angry when I think about that bitch.
She abused you.
Hell yes, she abused me. She tried to kill me. And it got worse the older I got. She thought I was competing with her in some way. She spent all that time with all those creams and things, spa treatments. But even before she thought I was competing with her, she abused me. She was so cold. When my complexion got pale and clear and my zits went away, it was even worse.
Tell me about the time she tried to kill you. Your viewpoint?
Well, I don't know why we have to go over the thing again, but if you want...
Can we please?
I was braiding my hair, trying it in some of the ways she used to, when she burst into my room, raging, furious about something. She had taken my mirror away long before because she felt that it would make me vain. So I was using the water in the wash basin to see how it looked.
Vain? I see. Go on.
So she grabbed me by the back of my neck. That's how she liked to handle me, and she dragged me down the stairs to the kitchen. Carl was there, the groundskeeper, and she said I was to go with him and no whining. He'd tell me what was wanted. Carl looked as white as my skin and really grim. So I thought something had happened to father. I didn't want to ask, afraid that I learned something awful. And Carl didn't offer. She stayed behind and I was so relieved to be away from her that I didn't ask Carl any questions until we were out deep into the forest. Farther than I'd ever gone before. There Carl told me that he had been sent by her to kill me. Or she would tell father that Carl had been having an affair with her. My father set a lot by her word and would have killed Carl for it. I trusted Carl and we'd always got along, so I promised to back him. But he admitted ashamedly that he had slept with her once. I was really shocked and hurt. Then he told me to run and that he'd try to convince her that I was dead or we would both die.
How did you feel about that?
Feel? How do you think I felt? I was so mad I wanted both of them dead. ... Not only was that Carl an idiot caving into that bitch, but he'd had the extreme bad taste to sleep with her. I fully intended to find my father and tell him everything. But Carl took the lamp with him when he left and he walked so fast for me to keep up. I got lost. Anyway, that's when I found the house of the 7 bozos.
So she abused you, betrayed you. You're pretty angry right now remembering it, aren't you?
Yes.
How angry?
Extremely angry. I feel like I'm going to explode. Sorry, I don't know what came over me.
You don't?
Is that what you mean? That I had to see things for myself?
Yes, that's a start.
So, this rage I have, is it really against my stepmother?
Well, let's talk about that too.
What do you mean?
What happened to your mother?
She died when I was little. But I remember her. She was beautiful and kind and she'd sing me lullabies.
So, your father remarried?
Yes, but it's like she cast a spell on him. She must have, for him to marry her. I don't remember the wedding. But I remember the first time she came to the nursery. I'd spilled some paint on my clothes and she grabbed me by the back of my neck and screamed at me, "Look at what you've done! Look at what you've done! Look at what you've done!" ... She hit me. Later that year, she pushed me down the stairs.
Why?
I was bad.
Do you really believe a child deserves to be pushed down a stairway, whatever they've done?
Well, no. But sometimes kids get out of hand. A little discipline is necessary. My father said that he couldn't go against her. Discipline, he said, is what wins battles. He did say she got carried away sometimes.
Discipline. I see. What do you remember of the funeral?
I don't think I remember the funeral. I don't think I went.
You don't remember the funeral?
No.
And why do you think that is?
Because it was horrible. My mother died and I didn't want to deal with it. I read somewhere that one can suppress memories like that.
So why do you remember all the things that your stepmother did? Surely they were horrible memories, worthy of suppression?
Maybe after the death of my mother, someone who loved me, the abuses of someone who didn't care wasn't significant.
I think it's very significant. Do you accept that I've been around long enough to have met your mother?
You knew my mother?
Oh, yes.
How is that possible?
Your father never remarried. Your mother didn't die when you were little.
What? What are you talking about? What is this nonsense?
I don't lie. I have never lied. What I've just said is the truth.
But that doesn't make sense. Of course she died. Or that creature wouldn't have come to ruin my childhood.
I am sorry. Check the court history. Your mother didn't die until she overdid it at your wedding. Your father never remarried. This is the truth. Sometimes it's easier to believe that a parent has died and been replaced by an evil creature than it is to believe that they would.
No, it's not true. It isn't.
Mothers love their children.
Of course.
Your mother would never push you down the stairs.
No, she wouldn't.
Your mother held you and sang lullabies to you and was kind.
Yes.
Then why are you crying? Why does it hurt so much?
Why? Why would she hurt me? Oh, God.
I don't know why. I only know that she did. But a child doesn't deserve to be hurt. A child deserves to be loved and cared for. You deserve to be held, just like you deserve to be loved and held as a child. That is something you need to grieve for. A pain that you haven't let yourself feel for a childhood that you weren't allowed to have. Nothing forgives abuse, but sometimes it's because of a similar abuse in the abuser's past. A vicious, nasty cycle that doesn't stop until a generation breaks out of the grip of the past and deals with it.
Are you saying that my daughter is in danger?
Yes, to some extent. But every bit of self-knowledge helps avoid that. Until you have dealt with the pain and the grief and the anger, yes, you, your child, and your marriage are in danger.
Oh my. What do I do?
Overcoming denial is the first and major step, and you've already done that. You can do the rest. It's all right. I'll be there. I'll help you all I can.
Really?
Yes.
When shall I see you again?
The same time next week.
All right. I'll have a servant bring up more handkerchiefs and I'll have him clean your glass while he's at it. Thank you, mirror.
I hope you enjoyed that story. The session is always one of my favorite takes on an old folk tale. I am especially drawn to stories which seem to make the situations that we find in fairy tales and folk tales more real. And in the session, there's that one line that speaks about how abuse happens sometimes because there is a history of abuse in the abuser's past. And until one generation decides to seek help and to break out of that cycle of violence, it just goes on from one generation to the next. I hope you enjoyed that story. Please do come back to listen to more of these YouTube videos. Thank you.